That was the principle behind one of the best business decisions I ever made, which was my deal with Vitamin Water back in 2004. Today, I'm celebrated for that decision. But like when I signed with M&M, at the time, it had a lot of people scratching their heads. That includes Chris Lighty, who was skeptical when I first told him I wanted to invest in a water company. Sell water to who? He asked. At the time, a lot of rappers were making money promoting liquor like Hennessy or Cavassier. In Chris's mind, booze was the smarter space to invest in. There was a method to my madness, though. I knew through personal experience people don't always drink alcohol at live events. Maybe they're under 21 or don't want to shell out $20 for a stale beer. One thing that's always available and popular at any concert, however, is water. It's always going to be the top-selling beverage at events. One day I was walking through the water aisle in the supermarket and noticed a premium brand selling for $3. Then I saw the no-name brands were going for closer to 75 cents. I thought to myself, if you blindfolded me, there's no way I could tell which one was which. The premium brand had just done a better job at marketing and promoting. That was another breakthrough. It had never occurred to me before, but just like booze, you could mark up water. Not to mention, water was a more authentic representation of my lifestyle. I don't really drink alcohol, but I definitely consume lots of water. And because I consume so much of it, I know drinking pure water alone got boring. To switch things up a bit, I started drinking flavored water. One day I was working out in the gym in LA, and my trainer gave me a bottle of something called vitamin water. I took a swig and liked it so much that I made a mental note that was a company I should invest in. Just to make sure I didn't forget, I actually threw my empty bottle in my gym bag. When I got back to my hotel, I called Chris and told him about the flavored water that I liked so much. He did some research and found out it was distributed by a company called Glasso that was based in Queens of all places. With my insistence, we decided that this is the brand that I should be working with. Once I sold Chris on my vision, we hatched a plan. During a commercial for my Reebok sneakers that showed me working out in the boxing gym, we snuck in a shot of me taking a sip of vitamin water. It was barely half a second, but it was enough. A friend of Chris's who worked at Glasso saw the spot and reached out to see if I'd be interested in an endorsement deal. They had just developed a new product called Formula 50 because it contained 50% of the RDA of 7 vitamins and minerals. Who better to sell Formula 50 than me? I agreed, but I countered with something different than the standard endorsement deal. Instead of taking a 5 or 6-figure deal to appear in the ads, I wanted to invest in the entire company. Instead of taking cash from them, I actually wanted equity in the company. It was a very aggressive ask, and it caught Glasso off guard. They weren't opposed to the idea, but they were nervous about getting into business with me on that level. They only knew me as a rapper who'd been shot 9 times, and they weren't sure they wanted to be associated with that sort of energy. I needed to put their minds at ease, so I took a meeting with the company's CEO. I didn't show up with an entourage, just Chris and me. I expressed how much respect I had for their brand. I was already a loyal consumer, and how hard I planned to work at spreading the word. I didn't give off the arrogant attitude or aggressive energy they probably were expecting. I presented myself as someone who saw a special business opportunity and was prepared to work his ass off to make it happen. And that was the truth. My approach helped them get over their apprehension, and we were able to strike an equity deal. The next order of business was to reimagine Formula 50. To me, vitamin water was just a more upscale version of quarter water, the flavored drinks you would get in bodegas for 25 cents a pop. As anyone from the hood can tell you, the most popular flavor of quarter water has always been grape. No one from the hood was trying to mess with lychee or passion fruit flavored water, which was what they had been thinking about. Formula 50 had to be grape to resonate with my base. Glasso respected my vision and changed the flavor to grape. Once everything was settled, I promoted the hell out of vitamin water. I was on billboards and bus stop ads across the country. I filmed the iconic commercial where I conducted a symphony orchestra playing in the club while taking sips of Formula 50. It seemed everywhere you looked, I was extolling the virtues of vitamin water. Glasso's market share began to rise, and the beverage industry took notice. So much so that in 2007, Coca-Cola purchased Glasso for $4.1 billion. Of course, I got a piece of that. I'd like to give you a number, but I signed a non-disclosure agreement to never name the actual price. Let's just say I did very, very well. It was the biggest come up in my life, which I later celebrated in the song, I Get Money. I took quarter water soda in bottles for $2, then Coca-Cola came and bought it for beans. What the fuck? What the fuck was definitely what the rest of hip-hop was asking once they heard how much I made. There had been groundbreaking hip-hop deals before. Run DMC and Adidas, LL Cool J and FUBU, but nothing even remotely on this level. In an environment where everyone was looking for the next deal, I had identified with something that was sitting in plain sight, but no one else had been able to see. I was confident enough in my vision not to get caught up worrying about the upfront money. To be fair, I was still riding high off of the success of my recording career and wasn't pressed for another $100K. I understand that not many people may find themselves in that position. Still, no matter what your situation is financially, if you really believe in something, I'd always recommend that you go for a piece of equity over an upfront payday. When you ask for equity, you're essentially betting on yourself. When I did that with Vitamin Water, it was a fairly unique bet to make. Now with the rise of startups, it's a form of compensation that a lot of people are looking for, especially in the tech and media fields. It's always smart to negotiate for equity, but you also have to be savvy about what sort of equity you're getting, because all slices of the corporate pie are not always equal. If you're about to negotiate a deal with the company that might include equity, the first thing you must do is hire a lawyer. I don't care if you're broke, this is something you must do. Borrow the money if you have to. Then make sure it's someone who's familiar with corporate governance. Don't hire your cousin who does real estate work, or the guy that handled your divorce because they'll do it a little cheaper. Get someone who specializes in these kind of contracts. Spending a few extra dollars at this stage, even if it hurts for a minute, can save you a ton of money down the road. You should also familiarize yourself with some basic issues so that you're educated when you do speak with someone. Most people aren't going to be in the same position I was in with Vitamin Water, where I could actually get a piece of the company. Instead, you're probably going to be in a situation where the company is offering you a lower salary, offset by stock options. Before you can determine if that's a good deal, you need to know the overall valuation of the company. If the company already put out an IPO, an initial stock offering, you can calculate its market value by multiplying the company's stock price by the number of shares outstanding. If it hasn't issued any stock yet, it's going to be harder to figure out. You're probably going to have to ask the founders what their method of determining the valuation of the company was. If they don't want to tell you or give you a vague answer that doesn't make sense, then it's probably not a deal you want to pursue anyway. If you're being offered stock, you need to know whether it is vested or not. Most stock options are vested, which means you have to stay with the company for a certain amount of time before you can cash them in. If your option doesn't vest for 4 years, you need to ask yourself if you're comfortable staying with the company that long. If not, the equity might not be worth it. A lot of times, people hear the terms equity or stock options and think that they've hit the lottery. It is true that equity and stocks are one of the quickest ways to get a lot of money. But you can't just walk into a startup situation blindly. You have to educate yourself and ask a lot of difficult questions early in the process. That way, if the startup you're working for does become one of the rare ones that sees its value skyrocket, you're going to be perfectly positioned to reap the rewards. I've seen a lot of people miss out on a golden opportunity by chasing a check instead of maneuvering for a piece of equity.